The first American shots fired in World War I were not on the battlefields of France. It could be said that they were fired on the Arizona-Mexico border. The Mexican Revolution, which had been going on for more than a decade, created an opportunity for Germany to expand its influence and keep the United States distracted and out of the war in Europe. To this end, they supplied the Mexican government with advisors, weapons, and intelligence. General Pancho Villa, commander of the División del Norte, a well-armed force numbering in the thousands, was a beneficiary of this German military aid. Villa, one of the founding fathers and a driving force behind the Mexican Revolution, became a renegade in December of 1915 after a falling out with the leaders of the Carranza government. He and his army were driven north, where the División del Norte was defeated by General Álvaro Obregón at the Second Battle of Nogales. Pursued by General Obregón's forces along the Arizona-New Mexico border, Villa's anger grew with every mile. Villa's forces, desperate for supplies and intent on revenge, brutally attacked the small border town of Columbus, New Mexico on March 14, 1916. The battle raged for over 2 hours, ending only after an overwhelming counterattack by U.S. troops using machine guns. 8 troopers and 10 civilians were killed before Villa retreated back across the border. The death of the soldiers and civilians in New Mexico generated a strong response from the U.S. government. President Woodrow Wilson had had enough. He personally ordered General Pershing to capture or kill Pancho Villa. The 1st Arizona Infantry, under the command of Colonel Alexander M. Tuthill, immediately answered President Wilson's call, joining General Pershing in the effort to capture Pancho Villa. Colonel Tuthill and the 1st Arizona arrived at Camp Douglas in May of 1916, immediately taking up positions along the Arizona-Mexico border, preventing any further encroachment by Villa. Despite the massive effort by Pershing's force of 140,000 soldiers, Pancho Villa was never captured. Chasing Pancho Villa, however, served as the backdrop for the expansion and modernization of the Army and helped train the first American combat troops used in World War I. The U.S. Army attained a number of firsts while chasing Villa. The first truck convoy ever to be used in military activities. The first time American military planes were used to scout and transfer messages in a combat environment. And the first use of machine guns against an attacking force. Not only did the troops become more cohesive and proficient, many officers gained valuable command experience, knowledge that the American Expeditionary Force would soon use in the Great War. The 1st Arizona Infantry played an important role in the hunt for Pancho Villa, serving on the border for 15 months. During this time, Germany declared unrestricted submarine warfare, and the contents of the infamous Zimmermann telegram were publicly revealed. Germany, in the telegram, had secretly proposed a military alliance with Mexico, offering the return of Texas, Arizona, and California back to Mexican control upon a German victory. The United States could take no more, declaring all-out war on Germany, April 6, 1917. The 1st Arizona Infantry, in August of 1917, was activated into the U.S. Army, becoming the newly designated 158th Infantry Regiment. Colonel Tuthill, originally the commander of the 158th, was quickly reassigned and promoted to the rank of Brigadier General, becoming one of the youngest brigade commanders in World War I. The newly formed 79th Infantry 40th Division, with General Tuthill on the command staff, spent the next year training at Camp Kearny in California. The 158th Infantry Regiment was finally deployed to France in August 1918, where its ranks were used to replace fallen and wounded soldiers across the front. One of the most outstanding members of the original 1st Arizona Infantry was Flagstaff resident Edward M. Robeson. Lieutenant Robeson served on the Mexican border with the 1st Arizona and trained with them at Camp Kearny before deploying to France. Upon his arrival, he was promoted to captain and assigned to the 372nd Infantry Regiment, 93rd Division. The 372nd, under the command of the French Army, moved against the Germans at Montois in October 1918. Captain Robeson was severely wounded in the attack, but stayed with his battalion for 2 days while under a constant heavy barrage of artillery and machine gun fire. He continued to lead and inspire his men until he succumbed to his wounds. Captain Robeson recovered and was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the Croix de Guerre, and the Purple Heart for his extraordinary heroism on the battlefield. Less than 1 month later, the war was over. When President Wilson arrived in France for the Paris Peace Conference, members of the 158th served as his honor guard. In addition, the 158th Military Band was chosen to entertain the peace delegates on numerous occasions throughout the conference. General Tuthill and the 1st Arizona Infantry, now designated as the 158th Infantry Regiment, served with honor and distinction in World War I. The American Legion, Department of Arizona, remembering the heroes of the past, encouraging the heroes of the future, helping veterans for 100 years. Honor, duty, country. The American Legion, Department of Arizona, commemorating the 100th anniversary of the American Legion.